Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another episode of Owning Your Sexual Self. Today, I'm talking with Cory Ruth, a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and a women's health expert behind the Women's Dietitian and on Instagram known as at the Women's Dietitian. She helps people with hormone balance, PCOS, fertility, and weight management through private practice and online programs like the PCOS Boss Academy and Get Pregnant with PCOS. And Cory has also created the Vita PCOS supplement line and also is coming out with a book in January 2026 called My Power. PCOS is My Power. And this is being published by Penguin Random House. So, very excited. Today, we are focusing this episode specifically on PCOS. It's been a topic on my mind for quite some time. I have some people that are very close to me in my life that are going through PCOS. Experiencing some fertility challenges behind that, and just also some other challenges. Let's have an episode. Oh, there she is. Cory just entered the waiting room as I'm recording this. And so let's have a conversation on this. We can use this podcast as a tool, as a resource for people moving forward with PCOS and how to navigate that. So without further ado, let's let Cory enter in the chat. All right. Hello, Cory. Thank you so much for coming on to the show today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a long time, a little back and forth getting you on here. So I appreciate you carving out the time in your busy schedule.
Sure.
And yeah, we're talking all things PCOS today. And so I'd love to just start with, somebody, how do you describe PCOS as somebody that is hearing this for the first time?
Yeah, so PCOS stands for polycystic ovary syndrome. And it's basically it is a diagnosis where you have to meet two out of three criteria in order to be diagnosed, which means that there's a lot of room for variability, which is why, someone who has been diagnosed with PCOS can have very different set of symptoms than somebody else right next to them with the same PCOS diagnosis. So the first criteria is to have polycystic ovaries, and you would only know that if you had a pelvic ultrasound done.
Hmm.
The second is to have irregular periods. And when I say irregular, it could be a number of things. Your period could be missing. It could be feeling like you're bleeding all the time or just spotting randomly. Or it could also really mean your period is just coming at, completely random, sporadic intervals. And it's not on that regular, 28, 38, 30-day cycle. So that's the second one. And then the third one is having symptoms of elevated androgens. And that could also be just having elevated androgens on labs being done. So that could translate to like high testosterone, which can cause things like facial hair, body hair growth, acne, hair loss on the head. It can also cause and contribute to weight gain and irregular periods. So you have to be diagnosed with or meet two out of three of those. So someone can have a regular period and still have PCOS. Someone could be not dealing with weight gain and still have PCOS.
Hmm.
So it can really look different, but it is the leading cause of infertility, and it is the most common endocrine, aka hormonal issue worldwide.
Hmm. Yeah. And how early might somebody start seeing symptoms of this?
Puberty,
Yeah.
but it is a little tricky getting diagnosed at puberty because if someone is having irregular periods, it's actually normal to have pretty irregular periods the first couple years after you start your period. So I don't always love a diagnosis super early like that, but yeah, typically it starts to happen around puberty.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, I could see that's so hard that you're in middle school, you're in high school, and you're like, gosh, yeah, my body is like figuring itself out. Um, and I guess, yeah, I'd love to ask, like, okay, so somebody that is in maybe their later teens or even early 20s, is it worth them going for that ultrasound to find out, like, do I meet the criteria for PCOS? Because oftentimes it's not until what I'm hearing now is like 30s and 40s, or when somebody is trying to get pregnant that they realize, oh, I have this, right? Like I've had these symptoms and I didn't know that they lined up with PCOS until now.
Totally. Yeah, I think it's absolutely worthwhile because at that point you can start exploring more into, different treatment modalities. So, yeah, I think the earlier we know, the more data we have, the better. I always say knowledge is power.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can seek out certain blood tests. You can get a pelvic ultrasound to try to understand if PCOS is part of your clinical picture or not.
Hmm. Yeah. And let's say somebody that is a little bit younger goes to see a doctor and presents these factors to them, and they get rejection from them, or say, "Oh, you're too young for that," or they're just kind of dismissed. What do you have for us if that happens?
Yeah, very common, unfortunately. And also commonly, something we experience is going to the doctor and just getting told to lose weight or, here's a prescription for metformin or birth control. Not all of us want to take that. It certainly has its place and can be helpful, but again, not all of us want to take that. And, there are many instances where weight loss is not going to be helpful or it's not warranted.
Mhm.
So it really just depends on the individual, but there are lots of other practitioners who can help you aside from just your, standard primary care provider or OBGYN. There are so many amazing, kind of functional, nutritional people like dietitians, people like naturopathic doctors who can have the time and space to dive in deeper and actually help you understand, number one, what's driving your particular set of symptoms and your diagnosis and what we can do outside of just the common sort of frequently recommended things to treat your symptoms and get you feeling better.
Hmm. Is for more practitioners, is PCOS something that practitioners would go to get like specialty training in or understanding in, or is it part of just the overall scope of practice that they learn from?
Sorry, doctors or
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
doctors, practitioners, like I'm just like, is there like a PCOS certification, I guess is what I'm asking.
not that I know of, no.
Yeah.
They get very, very little instruction on what to do with us because they're with PCOS, I think, a lot of us are just sort of tossed from doctor to doctor. They don't really know where to place us because there are so many components, right? There's a metabolic component to PCOS when we're talking about insulin resistance.
Mm.
Over half of us will have type 2 diabetes by the age of 40. So there's a lot that we are at a higher risk for in terms of heart disease, stroke, all these types of things. There's the gynecological component, right? In terms of menstruation and all the irregularities there. There's an endocrine component with all of the androgen issues. There's a reproductive component when it comes to our infertility. So I think they're just not sure where to place us. And yeah, there's a lot to learn there, a lot to be desired when it comes to what doctors are receiving education wise when it comes to PCOS
Mhm.
and how much they're underutilizing people like me, dietitians, who
Yeah.
are trained in blood sugar regulation, which is at the core of PCOS. And that's where somebody like myself with a very in-depth knowledge of, blood sugar regulation, insulin resistance, diabetes can really work a lot of magic where, maybe a traditional physician wasn't trained so much in that
Mhm.
versus just, giving out something like metformin
Mhm.
for insulin issues. Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, this really helps us just like ground us in all of this. And so I wanted to zoom in a little bit more on the nutrition component of it.
Yeah.
What would you say, like top three nutrition shifts that you would prioritize for clients that have PCOS?
Yeah, gosh, we could do a whole podcast episode on that question. There's so many. Um, it's not about elimination. Eating for PCOS is about balance at the end of the day because we are eating to take care of our symptoms for life, right? So we don't want to be on this crazy train of, take this out, take that out, demonize that, avoid that like the plague. We still want to eat and enjoy eating and enjoy our lives. So I think the first thing is really to prioritize focusing on what we can add versus what we need to take away. And what we really want to focus on adding more of is protein, fiber, and healthy fats. These are the three things that help stabilize our blood sugar versus something like an empty carbohydrate, right? Like a Starbucks beverage, not to hate on them, but something that has, 60 grams of added sugar in a medium cup, and we're slurping that down and not even really realizing it.
Mhm.
So focusing on those is really paramount when it comes to focusing on blood sugar regulation and hormones.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is to try to avoid really long periods of time without eating. So many clients of mine, they wake up, they have coffee, they rush to work. It's 3 p.m. before they even eat a snack, and then they eat a moderate size, larger dinner. And then after dinner, of course, their body's like, I need more fuel. So who's going to reach for, steamed carrots after dinner, right? When it's 11 p.m. watching Netflix? Nobody, including myself. So we're gonna choose foods that aren't necessarily as supportive as foods that we might choose if we weren't starving, needing fuel, and it's late at night and we're, binging on shows and whatever we can find in the cupboards. So trying to eat regular meals and snacks can really help keep blood sugar levels steady Eddie and help prevent cravings, help prevent things like food noise from getting worse and louder. So regular meals and snacks, as opposed to like, I'm going to push off eating as far as and as long as I can, in order to kind of like, maybe I think that that's helping me lose weight, but it's actually kind of backfiring later on in the day.
Mhm.
So that's the third one. Or the second one. The third one I would say is focus on cooking more of your own food. It does not have to be fancy or complex or take all of your precious time on, a weekend,
Mhm.
but, we tend to overconsume calories, fat, added sugar, sodium, all of these things when we're eating outside the home. When we're doing even we're doing DoorDash or whatever it is, Uber Eats,
Mhm.
and eating at restaurants, eating on the go, convenience foods, fast food, obviously, but just kind of being more in control of what we're eating in terms of ingredients
Yeah.
can go such a long way when we're talking about eating for healthy hormones,
Mhm.
and specifically if we're talking about weight management and fertility.
Mhm. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm just hearing a lot of like similarities to like intuitive eating. So tracking like your food and mood, like nourishing your body with things that do really feel good for you. Would you say so based on like the hormone testing, there might be some foods that are better fit for people to focus on specifically based on how their blood work is coming back?
Yeah, totally. And it's a lot of it has to do with carbohydrates and making sure
Mhm.
that we are pairing them with other foods that have protein and fiber, or we are eating complex carbs that already include fiber. So
Mhm.
that's the difference between something like white rice versus brown rice. Not that you can't ever or shouldn't eat white rice, but if you are doing that a lot of the time and you are insulin resistant, we might want to think of what we can add or how we can alter that to support healthier blood sugars.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Mhm.
really like that framework that you're offering of the yeah, it's more normalizing of it can be so daunting when like, oh, I can no longer eat this or I shouldn't eat this. And it really feels like it comes from more of that shame framework, which right, we can
Right.
never shame ourselves into loving ourselves. So the what you're saying here, it seems like it's more of this empowering approach of like, okay, what can we add to supplement this to help us feel better,
Right.
to things move along, in the direction that we are trying to go through, or go
Right.
towards rather.
So true. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. If you think about anything, if something that you really love to do,
Mhm.
if you were told you can never do that again, versus if you were told, hey, here's how to modify that to
Mhm.
be better for your health. It's way easier to digest,
Yeah.
pun intended. It's way easier to work with. Yeah.
Could you speak more to the role that you mentioned, like protein and fiber? Could you speak more to that role and how what they play in terms of appetite and blood sugar stability?
Yeah, so protein and fiber are blood sugar stabilizing
Okay.
macros. I mean, fiber is not technically a macro, but I kind of consider it to be one. And macronutrient, they are stabilizing versus carbohydrates, your blood sugar is going to spike. So
Mhm.
if we're eating more protein, more fiber, we're going to help bring those blood sugar spikes down. And I want to explain the connection to why am I talking so much about blood sugar? When we have PCOS, when our blood sugar is not as regulated as it could be, should be, it sends messages down to our ovaries to pump out more androgens like testosterone.
Mhm.
That drives symptoms and makes them worse, like the ones I said before: acne, facial hair, body hair growth, irregular periods, hair loss, weight gain. It makes them all worse. So, if we can work on regulating blood sugar and eating and incorporating in more protein, more fiber, and paring down how much carbs and how many carbs we're eating, we can support healthier hormones, and that manifests in our symptoms. It equates to improved symptoms. So
Mhm.
the connection is really clear and direct, but we are almost never explain this, when we're given our PCOS diagnosis, in that doctor's office and in that moment when we feel so powerless.
Mhm.
So I really aim to try to teach women how to take back control. You have more control over this condition than you think, and
Mhm.
you can make changes just on your diet. There's many other things that you can work on as well, which we can
Mhm.
touch on. But just by making changes in how and what you're eating, we can really improve the state of your overall health.
Yeah. How,
Mhm.
and I know you primarily work a lot with the nutrition side. How, if somebody
Yeah.
receiving a PCOS diagnosis,
Yeah.
what percentage do you think nutrition plays in a role of overall management of PCOS?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've never been asked like for an exact percentage.
Yeah.
I guess I would be just guesstimating, spitballing, but
Yeah.
nutrition is the number one thing that we focus on. Like if we go through any of my group programs, if you work with me one-on-one, the first thing we always talk about in length is diet and nutrition. And that is the number one best way to manipulate your blood sugar, whether you're making it worse or making it better.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say like 75, 80%. And it also can depend on the person, though. You know, if somebody has more adrenal-based PCOS, so their cortisol, their DHEAS, these are all elevated or wacky, stress is going to be take up a larger part of that percentage than maybe someone who doesn't really have that component to them. And that's why it's always really important to start with your unique body, your unique symptoms, what's driving your PCOS. And that's where testing, hormone testing, you can do that through, like a urine test, you can do blood work. But starting with testing can help you identify what pieces are most important for you specifically and your unique set of symptoms to
Mm-hmm.
get you feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I would say 75 to 80%, but it can really vary on the individual.
Yeah. I mean, even
Mhm.
so, yeah, even if it's half, 50%, like
Yeah.
that's still quite
Yes.
large. And yeah, I agree with what you're saying too. It's like the nutrition side of it feels like something that is actually manageable for people. It's like I have choice here. Like I get to choose what I'm ingesting and what I'm not going to ingest and how I'm going to, yeah, manage my
Right.
protein and my fiber intake. And I'd love to also to talk about the component of movement in all of this. Is
Yeah.
Yeah, like what's realistic or more evidence informed based on the movement that people can incorporate if they're getting this overwhelmed feeling of PCOS.
Yeah, so there's lots of myths out there about movement, and that one of them being like, you shouldn't do any high intensity exercise. Don't raise your heart rate. Don't spike your heart rate. Blah, blah, blah. But then really what that does is it scares women into not moving at all
Mhm.
because they're like, frozen. They don't know what to do. They are hesitant to try something new. And we have decades of research demonstrating and proving that movement is critical to every human being,
Mhm.
right? We are meant to move and we are more sedentary than ever. So I always like to remind women that cortisol spikes
Mhm.
during exercise are normal
Mhm.
and temporary. That spike will come back down and the overall benefit, the net gain that you can get from movement is going to far outweigh any temporary cortisol spikes. So I just want to lead with that. I also want to lead with there is no one exercise that is off limits for you just because you have PCOS, and there is no one best exercise. The best exercise is the one that you enjoy doing and that you're going to do consistently.
Mhm.
So, if you can even sneak in, 3 days a week, 30 minutes, I would be happy. That would make me so happy. And
Mhm.
it does not have to be anything crazy. So, yeah, it really comes down to your personal preference, what your schedule allows,
Mhm.
and, trying to customize a plan for clients and help them sneak it in because sometimes it really is like that. We have busy moms and who work full time and it's just harder.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I always approach it from that place. There's no like one prescription.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, really, this is not a one size fits all approach that we can take. It's like everybody truly is unique in what's going to work best for them. But again, yeah,
Exactly.
again, just it feels very empowering this whole conversation of like move in the way that feels good for you. I'm not going to tell you you can't do something or shouldn't do something or it has to be this certain way.
Right.
Because yeah, I think it's like the probably the emotional side of it too is like the overall feelings I get when I am moving in the ways that does feel good to me is probably also playing part in this versus I here forcing myself to do something that I feel like shit about or like don't really want to do or have to, right, the stress hormone is being activated because I have to
Right.
go and get up and go to this thing that seems,
Yes.
yeah, like that wouldn't be as
Exactly.
beneficial.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, you had the
Yeah.
nail on the. Hmm. Yep.
Yeah. I'd love to now go and talk about the supplement side. So you have created something, Vita PCOS.
Yes.
I'd love to, yeah, hear more about what this is.
Yeah, yeah. So supplements, oftentimes I'll see, I'll get a message on my Instagram, a DM, hey, what supplement should I take for my PCOS? And I always want to ask them, well, okay, like take a step back. Supplements are meant to be supportive of other things that we're doing.
Mhm.
There's no one, miracle, perfect magic pill you can take. They are supportive of other dietary and lifestyle changes.
Mhm.
So they're meant for that. I don't love when women just, they haven't done anything else and they just pick a supplement and like cross their fingers and hope and pray.
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers works. And it could do really great things for you, but we always want to be taking care of other arenas, right, of our health. And the truth is there's just a lot of crappy, for lack of a better term, supplements out there, especially for PCOS. We are a very vulnerable population. There's a lot of us who just don't know where to turn and what to do. So there are so many supplement blends out there that are just, I look at the formula and I'm like, why is that in there? The
Mhm.
marketing is great, like A plus, kudos to them.
Mhm.
But what's in there is really just a hodgepodge of like random things that may benefit someone who has more testosterone driven PCOS, but will have no effect on somebody who that isn't a factor for them. And they really need to focus on their adrenals. So there's really no one catch-all hormone balance blend.
Mhm.
And so I created supplements that are really for specific purposes. So for example, I have one for elevated androgens. I have one for more adrenal-based issues. I have one for more insulin resistance type of PCOS. So types of PCOS. So I really, it's important to pick and choose based on your unique individual self
Mhm.
and choose the right ones.
Mhm.
And it's important to choose a company that they are third-party tested. They're developed in FDA certified and CGMP, so good manufacturing practices.
Mhm.
Manufacturing plants. There's a lot of different pieces about supplements that you really want to do your homework on
Mhm.
before just like blindly buying something that sounds or looks nice.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah. And so these are all available that if people are following you on Instagram or go to your website, people can purchase these directly from you.
Yes, yeah, I have my own line called Vita PCOS, and yeah, it's made specifically for women with PCOS. And I've had this line for almost 5 years now, which is wild to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just love it. It's another way to, support women with PCOS and help them in a totally different format than a class or a course.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, it's been an incredible journey there.
Yeah. And with
Yeah.
with supplements, as you said, these are meant to supplement, right? Hence the name.
Yes.
Is it something that somebody that has PCOS as a diagnosis, is it something that then they're taking these supplements forever and ever and ever, or is it just more short time? Is it meant for more management? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say you can take supplements as long as they're helpful.
Hmm.
If you feel like you've gotten into a really good groove and you're like, these are great, they don't, you're not experiencing side effects or anything like that, you can stay on them. And then if you feel like you are moving and grooving on them, you've implemented, other changes when it comes to your diet, you've started a new movement routine, you're feeling good, you can totally experiment coming off of them and seeing how you do. Bodies change,
Hmm.
hormones change over time. So, my goal is never for you to take a supplement and be on it forever and ever. It's really a tool for you to start feeling better. And, there are going to be different moving parts to that.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
clarification on that. That's often yeah, I get that question a lot when I have guests on that are talking about and recommending supplements like, okay, do I have to like I'm on these for life,
Right.
like every single day now for
Yeah.
the rest of my life?
Oh,
So yeah, it can feel quite
yeah.
scary.
Totally. Yes. Yeah. And expensive, right? If you're buying ones that are, yeah, some of the costs I see out there are crazy
Yeah.
as well. So,
Yeah, very true. Um,
yes.
and then, yeah, of course, I want to touch on you have a book that's coming out in January of 2026. I'd
Yeah.
love to, I feel like I know the answer of like what inspired you to write this book, but please tell us about it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So it's available for pre-order as of Monday,
Yay.
and it is the complete PCOS guidebook. It's kind of a step-by-step actionable plan that you can follow to help put your PCOS symptoms into remission. We can't cure PCOS, but we can absolutely get to a place where we feel like PCOS is not owning us. It does not control us anymore.
Mhm.
And inside the book, the title is PCOS is Your Power because I really like to put a positive spin on the reasons why we're working on our health, right? Like, for example, had I not gotten my PCOS diagnosis, I would have never gone after all these parts and pieces of my health that have benefited me in the long run,
Mhm.
right? Like I am at an increased risk for type 2 diabetes and because of my PCOS, but also just many of my family members.
Mhm.
Now that I know all the ins and outs of blood sugar regulation, my blood glucose, my levels are in a good place. I potentially avoided something. I avoided getting a type 2 why can't I talk today? Type 2 diabetes diagnosis. It's a mouthful. In the future. So PCOS really is my superpower in that sense. And, I really want to use that to empower other women to learn more about their bodies
Mhm.
and really just change the game for themselves health wise. So
Yeah.
that's what the book is about. And I get asked every single day in my practice or, from a follower, what are the number one, books that you recommend for PCOS? And there's just a lot of the books out there are written by individuals that are very biased. Like I see a lot of like doctors that are writing like strictly like you have to go vegan, all these different and it's just, that's not the case. So I really wanted a more neutral, unbiased
Mhm.
book. Here is what the science shows us. Here is what to do coming from an individual who actually has PCOS. So
Mhm.
that's what the book is. And there's also meal plans. There's over 70 original recipes that I created. And that's a wonderful place to start too. If you're like, okay, how do I actually implement, the nutrition portion?
Mhm.
So I love that about the book too.
Yeah, I just have to say, Corey, like this has been such a refreshing conversation because oftentimes I'm not bashing any like previous guests, but sometimes it's like when we're talking about these harder things, like somebody receives a PCOS diagnosis, for instance, right? Again, I've mentioned like people in my life that are navigating this, and it just feels like fuck, like I have PCOS.
Yeah,
Like it can just feel
right.
very daunting and very jarring for people. And so this conversation, just thank you for just the work that you're doing around this and just offering it as a different lens that does feel more empowering. It's like, yeah, this can actually change my life in a way for the better and doesn't have to be this bad thing.
Totally, totally. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. And I know it's scary to get a diagnosis. It's scary. Like I've been there.
Hmm.
But my hope, I always say like my hope is to be the person that I would have wanted when I was younger and to help kind of separate fact from fiction and help them understand that, this is a diagnosis, not a death sentence. There is so much you can do.
Hmm.
Let's do this. Like,
Hmm.
let's go. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, to end, I would love to just do a couple rapid fire questions with you.
All right. Love these.
Sometimes people are like, oh, I'm stressed. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so if somebody suspects PCOS, what are the first three steps that they should take?
If they suspect PCOS, ask their doctor for a full hormone panel
Mhm.
and blood sugar check and pelvic ultrasound. So that's going to give us information as far as what hormone levels are off,
Mhm.
or whether or not there actually is PCOS, present.
Mhm.
Second, I would say start learning dietary changes, and you can do that through myself. There are other wonderful colleagues I have, now in this space, but nutrition is the first topic to conquer.
Mhm.
And I would say, it's hard there's so many other things to tackle. I can't even choose between, like there's movement, there's supplements, there's gut health, like that has a connection. There's stress. There's
Yeah.
so many things. I would say just kind of low-hanging fruit and something easy to do is to figure out, based on the aforementioned, what supplements can I take? Like what can be helpful? And again, you can work with somebody like me to help you drill down on exactly what to take so you're not wasting time and money and effort. But if you can get on a healthy supplement regimen, make some changes in your diet to support healthier blood sugar and hormones, and understand what's driving your PCOS, you are going to be in such a better place than you were, pre all of that.
Mhm. Mhm. Thank you. One grocery item to always keep on hand.
Ooh, I would say, I don't know why. I mean, this would probably vary day by day, but I feel like chia seeds, they had like a moment in like the 2000s that were like on like the smoothie bowls. I remember when I first became an RD. But I feel like chia seeds are so we talk about fiber,
Mhm.
right? Fiber like is such an unsexy topic, but it is so important and we really undereat fiber all the time.
Mhm.
And so chia seeds are, you can get 5 grams of fiber in one little tablespoon, which you'd have to eat like hay bales of lettuce to get to like what you could get to with a few tablespoons of chia seeds. So that fiber, we always think about fiber as helping with digestion, right? Fiber, poop, haha. But your estrogen, your body actually excretes estrogen out through its stool, out through your stool.
Mhm.
So fiber, what it does is actually helps regulate your estrogen levels, and it binds up estrogen and helps get it out of the body.
Mm.
So fiber is actually really important and is a superstar for your hormones. And, beans, lentils, nuts, seeds, fruits, different vegetables are all excellent. Avocado is actually a great source of fiber, but chia seeds, you could add them into so many different
Mhm.
things. And you could get them, front load your day with fiber in the morning by adding them to a smoothie or a chia pudding or overnight oats or your oatmeal. There's many you could bake with them. There's so many ways to get more fiber using them. But yeah, fiber is like I suspect that fiber will be the new protein in like a
Mhm.
year or so.
Mhm.
So that's my prediction. So yeah, chia seeds, stock up on them.
Yeah.
You don't have to grind them to eat them. You don't have to soak them to eat them unless you're eating like a crap ton, then I would soak them.
Mhm.
But you can also just sprinkle, a tablespoon here or there on, whatever meal you're having.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
This
always have
one,
chia.
I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have chia seeds in my pantry right now. I'm like, I
Perfect.
need to bump this intake up. Um,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and the
Yeah.
last one, what would you say best low effort snack for the blood sugar stability specifically?
Low effort. Yes. Like the lowest low effort is like a pre-made protein shake.
Mhm.
Right? But there are also a lot of crappy brands out there. I feel like very negative when I'm talking about all these other things, but there just are. There really are.
Yeah.
That's why I exist to help you, help you guys understand what to pick and what to avoid. So yeah, there's a lot of companies that they taste great, like so good,
Mhm.
but the ingredients are scary. Lots of just like stuff that our bodies probably are like, what do I do with this? Not saying to completely avoid it all, like all foods can fit, but if you're, grabbing something like a protein shake on the reg, in order to kind of stretch you from one meal to the next, it's going to stabilize your blood sugar. It's going to do great things.
Mhm.
Try to pick one that doesn't have all of the, artificial flavorings, colorings, preservatives,
Mhm.
just like the cleaner ingredients, the better. So there are certain brands I really like, but yeah, I would say like that's a very easy one for people to just grab. You can drink it on the go.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
it's a good one as long as you're picking the brands that
Yeah.
are, complete like science experiments. And yes, I have worked in many food labs and seen some of the craziest stuff you've ever seen. So yeah, there are people's like full jobs to just like make crazy little combinations to like keep us like wanting like chips and things like that. So it is really wild in there. So yeah, I try to gravitate towards cleaner ingredients if and when possible.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. This was just wonderful. And yeah, I'm sure that people are going to listen to this and be like, okay, I need to follow this woman. I need to work with this woman. So where is the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Yeah, yeah. So I mostly live on Instagram. My handle is at the Women's Dietitian. So yeah, probably gonna find me there. I also have my website, which is www.thewomensdietitian.com. And then my supplement line you could find from there. I have a one-on-one practice. I have group programs that I run a few times a year. And yeah, my book, all that is linked on my website. And yeah, come say hi on Instagram, and I'd love to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. That is where I found you. I was searching PCOS on Instagram and I was like, okay, I need a guest on this topic. Went through many, many,
Yes.
many profiles and I was like,
Oh, thank
this is
you.
it's you. It is you. You are the one. You are the chosen one. So
Thank you. I
you so much
appreciate it.
again. Yeah, I really just appreciate again this conversation and the yeah, just the social media content that you put out there. I think it's really beneficial for people. So thank you again for the work that you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.